You wake up every morning with a choice. Either you discipline your mind or your mind disciplines you. Most people choose comfort, and that is why they stay ordinary. They want success, but they run from sacrifice. They want greatness, but they avoid the grind. For 10 years, I battled not just opponents, but myself, until I discovered 7 lessons that changed everything. These lessons were carved into me through blood, sweat, and years of relentless practice. And if you truly want to rise above mediocrity, if you want to build a mind and body that nothing can break, then listen closely, because what I'm about to share with you will either wake you up or leave you behind. 1. Master your mind before you master your moves. The very first and most important lesson that took me years to understand is that discipline does not begin with the body. It begins with the mind. You can train your muscles for hours. You can condition your body until it is strong and fast. But if your mind is scattered and uncontrolled, all of that physical strength will collapse the moment it is truly tested. The body is only a reflection of the mind. If your mind is filled with doubt, hesitation, or fear, your movements will be weak, sloppy, and uncertain. If your emotions are unstable and you allow anger or frustration to guide you, then your actions will betray you when you need control the most. Before I ever stepped into combat with another opponent, I had to step into combat with myself, and that battle was far more difficult than any fight with fists or kicks. In silence, I discovered that my greatest enemy was not outside. It was inside. It was the restless thoughts that pulled me away from focus, whispering distractions when I needed clarity. It was the hidden fears that told me I was not strong enough, that I was not ready, that I should give up when things became difficult. It was the temptations that begged me to take the easy path instead of walking the hard road of discipline. These were the enemies I had to defeat every single day before I could even think of facing another man in combat. When I finally began to understand this, I realized something that changed my entire life. The true battlefield is not the ring, the mat, or the arena. The true battlefield is the mind. If the mind is disciplined, steady, and sharp, the body will naturally follow. A trained mind will direct the body with precision, clarity, and power. But if the mind is weak, no amount of physical training can save you when the pressure is real. That is why self-mastery is not just an idea, it is the foundation of all victory. Mastery of the mind means learning to control your thoughts so they serve you instead of sabotage you. It means calming the storm inside so that no chaos outside can shake you. It means developing the focus to stay locked on your purpose even when distractions are everywhere. When your mind becomes your servant instead of your master, you unlock a level of discipline that carries into every part of your life. Think of it this way. A man who has conquered his mind can walk through the fire of life without being consumed by it. He does not panic when challenges appear. He does not crumble when fear arrives. He does not lose himself when temptation whispers. He stands firm, calm, and unshakable because he knows that everything begins within. To master your moves, you must first master your mind. This is the unspoken truth of discipline, and once you embrace it, your life changes forever. 2. Consistency is the mother of mastery. One of the most difficult lessons I had to learn was that greatness is not achieved through rare moments of brilliance, but through daily commitment that looks ordinary to the outside world. In the beginning, I believed that training with intensity once in a while was enough, that pushing myself to the extreme on some days would build me into a master. But time humbled me. I realized that mastery does not belong to the one who works the hardest in a single day. Mastery belongs to the one who shows up day after day, without excuse, without waiting for motivation, without depending on whether the conditions feel perfect or not. Discipline taught me that consistency is greater than intensity. Anyone can work hard for a week when they are inspired. Anyone can give their all for a short period when excitement is high. But very few can show up every single day when no one is watching, when the body feels heavy, when the mind is tired, and when the reward seems far away. That is the test of discipline. To practice the same kick thousands of times until it is no longer just a move, but a part of your very being. To wake up each morning and train even when yesterday's fatigue is still in your muscles. To live in a cycle of repetition so complete that excellence becomes your second nature. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack consistency. They quit when results don't come fast. They stop when progress feels invisible. They abandon the path because they do not realize that growth is invisible before it becomes undeniable. A seed does not sprout overnight. It takes water every day, sunlight every day, and patience every day before it breaks the soil. Your mind, your body, your spirit, they are the same. They require daily attention, daily sharpening, daily effort. Without that, the seed of greatness inside you never grows. When I trained, I did not ask myself whether I felt like it. I did not allow my emotions to dictate my discipline. I knew that if I only trained on days when I felt good, I would never reach the level I sought. So I trained when I was tired. I trained when I was sore. I trained when my spirit was heavy. And over time, that consistency built a foundation no weakness could break. Repetition carved skill into my muscles. Repetition sharpened my reflexes until they became instinct. Repetition burned away hesitation until only confidence remained. Understand this clearly. You do not become great because of what you do once in a while. You become great because of what you do relentlessly, without fail. Consistency is what transforms potential into power. It is the mother of mastery. And if you embrace it, if you build your life upon it, you will discover that there is no dream beyond your reach. Because while talent may give someone a head start, only consistency allows you to finish the race. 3. Be fluid like water, not rigid like stone. When I first began my journey, I thought strength was about being unmovable. I believed that if I stood rigid, if I resisted everything that came against me, I would be unbreakable. But time and experience humbled me. I learned through countless battles, both in combat and in life, that rigidity is not strength. It is fragility disguised as toughness. A tree that refuses to bend will snap in a storm. A man who refuses to adapt will shatter when life applies pressure. And so I turned to the greatest teacher of all, water. Water is patient yet relentless. It has no fixed form, yet it takes the shape of everything it touches. It yields to obstacles, yet with time it carves valleys through mountains and wears down the hardest stone. Water adapts without losing its essence, and in its quiet persistence, it achieves what rigid strength cannot. That is when I understood. To live with discipline and mastery, I must not be rigid like stone, but fluid like water. Think about how water moves. When it encounters a rock, it does not resist with stubbornness, it flows around it. When poured into a cup, it becomes the cup. When poured into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. It does not complain, it does not hesitate, it does not argue. It simply adapts while never ceasing to be what it is. This is the secret of water. It remains true to itself while adjusting to every challenge. That is also the secret of a disciplined life. In martial arts, this truth is undeniable. A fighter who is stiff, who clings to one style, one strategy, or one way of thinking, will be defeated by someone who can adjust fluidly to the moment. In life, it is the same. A person who clings to their comfort zone, who refuses to grow, who resists change, will find themselves broken by circumstances. But the one who is flexible, who is willing to adapt, who flows with challenges instead of fighting them blindly, that person cannot be stopped. Understand this clearly. Being fluid like water does not mean being weak. Many mistake flexibility for softness, but that is ignorance. Flexibility is not weakness. It is ultimate strength. The river adapts to the land, but it still shapes the land over time. The ocean yields to the shore, but it still holds power vast enough to swallow continents. When you become like water, you do not lose your purpose. You remain disciplined, focused, and clear, but you also allow yourself to move with the world instead of breaking against it. For me, this lesson was not just about combat, it was about life itself. In training, in work, in relationships, in every path I walked, I faced obstacles that demanded adaptability. The rigid version of myself wanted to resist, to force things my way, to fight reality. But discipline showed me another way. To remain calm, to adjust my steps, to redirect my energy, and to move forward without losing who I am. That is the way of water. So remember this. If you cling too tightly to your own ways, you will be crushed by the weight of change. But if you learn to bend, to flow, and to adapt, nothing can break you. Be like water, humble, patient, persistent, and unstoppable. It took me years to embody this truth, but once I did, I discovered a strength greater than any rigid stance could ever provide. 4. Pain is a teacher, not an enemy. For most of my early life, I saw pain as something to be feared, something to run from, something that meant failure or weakness. Like many people, I thought the goal was to live without pain, to avoid discomfort, and to escape suffering at all costs. But life and training taught me a truth that shattered that illusion. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your greatest teacher, if you are willing to listen. When I trained, I pushed my body beyond its limits. There were days when my muscles trembled, when my bones ached, and when every breath burned. There were times when I fell to the ground in defeat, humiliated in front of others, with my body broken and my pride wounded. In those moments, the undisciplined part of me wanted to stop. It whispered, "This is too much. It hurts too badly. You can rest now. You can quit." And for a long time, I believed pain was a sign that I had failed, a sign that I was not strong enough. But with discipline, I began to see something deeper. Every moment of pain carried a lesson, and if I ran away from it, I would run away from growth. Pain taught me humility because no matter how strong I thought I was, it showed me where I was still weak. Pain revealed the cracks in my technique, the flaws in my preparation, and the limits of my endurance. It forced me to face myself honestly, without illusion. Without pain, I would have believed I was already complete. Pain stripped me of arrogance and replaced it with hunger for improvement. Pain also taught me patience. Progress is not instant, and discipline requires endurance. The soreness in my muscles was not a punishment. It was a signal that growth was happening inside me. The failures I experienced were not signs of defeat. They were necessary steps toward mastery. Pain slowed me down, forcing me to pay attention, to breathe, to rebuild. It demanded that I endure and trust the process. Without pain, I would never have developed the patience to persist through the long, unseen years of training. But perhaps the most important lesson pain taught me was strength of spirit. Physical pain is temporary, but mental weakness can last a lifetime. Every time pain knocked me down, I had a choice: to quit and let it define me, or to rise and let it refine me. And every time I chose to rise, I discovered that my threshold was greater than I had imagined. Pain pushed me past the limits I thought existed, and in doing so, it revealed that those limits were only illusions. Understand this clearly. Most people run from pain, but the disciplined man learns from it. When you face pain, do not simply endure it, study it. Ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? Is it showing you where your body needs strengthening? Is it revealing where your discipline is weak? Is it teaching you patience, resilience, or humility? Pain is not here to destroy you. It is here to shape you. The truth is, without pain, there is no transformation. Comfort never created greatness. Ease never built warriors. It is pain that carves discipline into your bones and burns strength into your spirit. Once you stop fearing it and start respecting it, pain becomes your greatest ally. And when you embrace it fully, you discover that pain does not break you. It awakens the part of you that was unshakable all along. 5. Do not speak. Show through action. One of the hardest truths I learned in my journey is that the world is not moved by words. It is moved by proof. In the early days of my training, I often caught myself speaking about what I was going to achieve, how far I was going to go, and how strong I was becoming. I thought that by declaring my ambitions, I was already halfway toward them. But reality does not reward talk. Reality rewards action. I realized very quickly that no matter how powerful my words sounded, they were meaningless if I did not back them with discipline and results. Talk is easy because it requires nothing from you. It is air, it is sound, it is the easiest currency to spend because it costs you nothing in the moment. But action, that is the true currency of discipline. Action costs you sweat, effort, sacrifice, and consistency. Action demands that you prove what your words promise. I learned that every time I spoke of what I would do without following through, I weakened my own character. I was feeding my ego instead of feeding my discipline. And so I stopped talking about what I would do and started focusing on showing it. Silence became my ally. In silence, I trained harder. In silence, I pushed myself beyond my limits. In silence, I let my sweat and pain be the only witnesses to my commitment. And when results began to show, they spoke louder than any words I could have ever said. I didn't need to announce that I was disciplined. My movements revealed it. I didn't need to say that I was growing stronger. My strikes carried the weight of proof. I didn't need to convince people of my commitment. My results convinced them before I opened my mouth. Discipline taught me that actions are eternal while words fade quickly. People may forget what you said, but they will never forget what you showed them. They may doubt your promises, but they cannot deny your results. That is why I tell you, stop broadcasting your goals. Stop explaining your plans. Stop wasting your energy trying to prove yourself with speech. Take that energy and pour it into consistent, disciplined action. Let your silence become your strength, and let your results become your voice. When you live this way, something powerful happens. You no longer feel the need for validation from others. You no longer seek recognition or applause. You no longer measure your worth by the approval of those around you. Instead, you gain a quiet confidence that comes only from living your discipline every day. Your identity is no longer tied to what you say you will do. It is built upon what you actually do relentlessly without excuse. Think about this carefully. A man who constantly speaks about his discipline but does not live it is like a tree that makes noise in the wind but bears no fruit. A man who remains silent, who waters his roots daily with consistent effort, eventually grows into a tree so strong and fruitful that everyone notices, even though he never said a word. So remember this truth. Do not waste your life trying to convince others of who you are. Instead, dedicate your life to becoming it. Discipline is not loud. It does not shout. It does not beg to be noticed. Discipline works quietly, in the shadows, in the unseen hours, until one day it manifests into results so undeniable that the world cannot ignore them. That is the real power. That is the proof of silence. 6. Discipline is freedom. When I was younger, I misunderstood discipline. I thought it was a cage that took away freedom, a prison that chained me to routines, responsibilities, and sacrifices while others lived carefree lives. I watched people around me sleep when they wanted, eat whatever they desired, chase pleasures without restraint, and I believed they were free while I was confined by rules and structure. But the more I lived, the more I trained, the more I fought, the more I realized the truth. What they called freedom was actually slavery, and what I called slavery was in fact freedom. The undisciplined man is not free. He is bound by his impulses. He thinks he chooses, but in reality, his cravings choose for him. He is pulled in every direction by distraction, addiction, laziness, and weakness. He says yes to everything his mind desires, but in doing so, he loses control over his own life. He may appear to live freely, but his freedom is an illusion, because he cannot stop himself even when he wants to. He cannot rise early when needed. He cannot resist temptation when it calls. He cannot push himself when comfort whispers in his ear. That is not freedom. It is being a prisoner of desire. The disciplined man, however, lives in a different reality. To the outside world, he seems restricted. He wakes up early when others sleep. He trains when others rest. He sacrifices pleasures that others indulge in. But within this sacrifice lies true freedom. Because when a man commands himself, nothing else commands him. When he controls his impulses, no temptation can own him. When he disciplines his body, fatigue cannot enslave him. When he disciplines his mind, fear cannot paralyze him. He is free not because he does what he wants in every moment, but because he has built the strength to choose what is right over what is easy. Discipline gave me freedom in every area of life. It gave me freedom in combat because I no longer relied on luck or chance. My preparation freed me from fear. It gave me freedom in my body because I was strong enough to move, fight, and live without being limited by weakness. It gave me freedom in my mind because I no longer lived in chaos. I could choose calmness even in the middle of storms. Discipline gave me freedom in my spirit because it built in me a confidence that no one could take away. Freedom is not doing what you want whenever you want. That is chaos. Real freedom is having the power to do what must be done, even when you don't feel like it. It is the ability to say no to distractions, to rise above laziness, to walk away from temptation, and to stay steady when everything tries to pull you off course. Real freedom is earned through discipline, because only discipline gives you mastery over yourself. So do not run from discipline thinking it is your enemy. Do not believe that comfort is freedom, because comfort is the trap that weakens your will until you no longer control yourself. Instead, embrace discipline. Yes, it will demand sacrifices. Yes, it will feel heavy in the beginning. Yes, it will test your patience. But if you endure it, if you make discipline your way of life, you will taste a freedom greater than anything comfort can offer. The freedom to live on your terms, the freedom to walk your path without chains, the freedom to become who you were meant to be. That is why I say to you now, discipline is not the prison, it is the key. It is not the cage, it is the door. When you master discipline, you unlock yourself. And when you unlock yourself, nothing in this world can imprison you again. 7, you become what you repeatedly do. If there is one truth I want you to carry with you for the rest of your life, it is this. You are not what you say you will do. You are not what you occasionally attempt. And you are not defined by your dreams or intentions alone. You are the sum of your habits. You are the product of your discipline. You become, without exception, what you repeatedly do. In the beginning, I thought greatness was born in moments. The moment of victory in combat, the moment of a breakthrough in training, the moment of inspiration that fills the heart with fire. But I soon realized those moments are only the results of something deeper. They are the harvest. The real work happens in the repetition, in the small, often invisible actions that you repeat every single day. Every kick I threw, every punch I practiced, every hour I spent conditioning my body was shaping me long before anyone saw the results. My greatness was not built in the spotlight. It was built in the shadows of repetition. Most people fail because they underestimate the power of small daily actions. They think that one skipped workout, one day of laziness, one broken promise to themselves does not matter. But what they do not see is that each choice is a thread, and those threads weave together to form the fabric of who you are. Every repeated action strengthens a pattern. If you repeatedly choose discipline, you weave strength, resilience, and mastery into yourself. If you repeatedly choose weakness, you weave fragility, doubt, and failure into your life. The truth is simple. Habits build character, and character builds destiny. When I trained, I did not think about mastering 10,000 techniques in a single year. I thought about mastering one kick by practicing it 10,000 times. That repetition carved the move into my body until it became part of me, until I could execute it without thought, without hesitation, without doubt. The same principle applies to life. You do not become wise by reading one book. You do not become disciplined by one day of effort. You do not become great by one act of courage. You become these things by repeating them until they are no longer something you do. They are something you are. This is why discipline is everything, because your repeated actions do not just shape your skills, they shape your identity. Every day you are training yourself into someone, whether you know it or not. If you waste your days in distraction, you are training yourself to be unfocused. If you surrender to fear, you are training yourself to be weak. If you let laziness rule you, you are training yourself to be unprepared for life's challenges. But if you wake each day and commit to your path with discipline, you are training yourself to be unstoppable. Do not deceive yourself by believing that greatness will suddenly arrive one day out of nowhere. There is no single event that transforms you. Transformation is built silently through the choices you repeat. Day after day, year after year. It is not dramatic, it is not glamorous. It is steady, quiet, and persistent. And one day, without even realizing it, you will wake up and see that you have become the very person you dreamed of being. Not because of luck, but because of discipline. So remember this truth and let it burn inside you. You are not your goals, you are not your wishes, you are not your excuses. You are what you repeatedly do, and the person you will be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, will be built entirely by the habits you choose today. Choose discipline, choose consistency, choose action over comfort, because with every repetition, you are writing the story of who you are. And if you choose well, that story will be unshakable. 8. The battle is not against the world. It is always against yourself. For many years, I believed that my greatest struggles were against opponents, against circumstances, against the challenges life placed in front of me. I thought that if I could defeat other fighters, if I could overcome obstacles, if I could silence critics, then I would prove my strength. But over time, I realized something far greater, something that took me years of training, discipline, and self-reflection to truly understand. The battle has never been against the world. The battle has always been against myself. It is easy to believe that our failures are caused by others. We blame the competition, the critics, the environment, or even fate itself. We look outside of ourselves for the enemy. But the truth is, the world is only a mirror reflecting what already lives within us. Every obstacle on the outside exists only to reveal the weaknesses we carry inside. The man who cannot control his anger will be defeated not by his opponent's skill, but by his own temper. The man who cannot endure pain will not fall because life is unfair, but because he lacks the inner strength to carry on. The man who cannot stay disciplined will not lose because opportunities are missing, but because he sabotages himself. Again and again, I saw the same pattern. The greatest defeats do not come from the outside. They come from within. When I was young, I wanted to fight the world. I wanted to prove myself against anyone and everyone. But discipline taught me that the real opponent was not out there. The real opponent was the part of me that wanted to quit, the part of me that wanted to take the easy path, the part of me that wanted comfort over sacrifice. Every morning, I woke up not to fight another man, but to fight the part of myself that whispered excuses. That was the battle, And it was the hardest one of all. You see, defeating another man requires strength for minutes or hours, but defeating yourself requires strength every single day. There is no break, no end, no rest, because the self is always present, always testing you, always trying to drag you back into weakness. That is why discipline is not something you practice once. It is a lifelong commitment. The enemy inside never fully disappears. It only grows quieter when you consistently overpower it with action. When I trained, my body often begged me to stop. My muscles screamed for rest. My lungs burned, and my mind whispered, "Enough. You've done enough. You deserve to stop." But that was the enemy speaking. Not the opponent across from me, not the weight in front of me, not the kick I had to throw 10,000 times. That voice inside was the true enemy. And when I silenced it with discipline, when I refused to obey its weakness, I discovered a strength far greater than any physical skill. I discovered the strength of self-mastery. This truth applies not only to martial arts, but to every path in life. The student who cannot overcome procrastination will blame the difficulty of the subject, but the real enemy is within. The man who wants success but cannot wake up early will blame bad luck, but the truth is, he is at war with his own laziness. The person who dreams of greatness but cannot remain consistent will blame circumstances, but the truth is, they lost the battle against themselves before the world even had a chance to test them. Understand this. Once you conquer yourself, the world no longer holds power over you. The critic's words cannot shake a man who has silenced his own doubts. The failures of yesterday cannot break a man who has disciplined his mind to rise again. The pain of life cannot destroy a man who has embraced struggle as part of the path. When you win the war within, nothing outside can defeat you. But do not think this is an easy truth. Fighting yourself is far harder than fighting others. It demands honesty. It demands that you look in the mirror without excuses, without lies, and without blame. It demands that you admit your weaknesses and take full responsibility for your life. Most people cannot do this. They prefer to fight shadows outside instead of confronting the enemy within. That is why discipline is rare and greatness is rare, because only a few are willing to confront themselves and stay in that battle every day. For me, this realization changed everything. I stopped seeking validation through competition with others. I stopped measuring myself by trophies, applause, or recognition. Instead, I began to measure myself by whether or not I was defeating the weaker version of me each day. Did I wake up when I wanted to sleep longer? Did I push myself when I wanted to hold back? Did I train when I felt unmotivated? Did I control my emotions when anger tried to control me? Every yes was a victory greater than any medal, because it meant I had won against the only opponent who truly mattered, myself. And this is the lesson I want you to carry. The battle is not out there, it is in here. Stop blaming the world. Stop searching for enemies outside. The world is not holding you back. You are holding yourself back. Every excuse, every hesitation, every act of laziness is a defeat in the war against yourself. But every act of discipline, every small victory, every refusal to give in is a step closer to mastery. So do not waste your life chasing shadows. Turn inward. Face the enemy that whispers within you. Fight it with every breath, every action, every decision. And when you do, you will discover a freedom, a strength, and a victory greater than any external success. Because once you conquer yourself, there is nothing left in this world that can ever conquer you again. 9. Simplicity is the key to ultimate mastery. For a long time in my journey, I believed that the path to mastery was about adding more techniques, more skills, more complexity, more knowledge. I thought that the more I could collect, the greater I would become. But after years of discipline, training, and refinement, I discovered a paradox that forever changed the way I approached life and martial arts. Mastery is not found in adding, it is found in eliminating. True power does not come from complexity, it comes from simplicity. When I was younger, I wanted to learn every style, every strike, every movement. My notebooks were filled with countless techniques. My days were consumed by trying to memorize and practice everything I could get my hands on. But when the pressure came, when combat demanded action, I realized I could not rely on 1,000 moves I had half learned. They betrayed me. They crumbled in the chaos of the moment. What I needed was not 1,000 weak techniques. I needed a few strong ones, perfected through relentless repetition. This was not only a lesson in martial arts, but in life. Many people believe success means doing more, having more, chasing more. They pile their lives with distractions, overcommitments, possessions, and noise. They drown in complexity, believing it will make them powerful, but discipline revealed the opposite. Complexity weakens focus. Distraction dilutes power. The man who chases everything captures nothing. But the man who eliminates the unnecessary and focuses on the essential becomes unstoppable. I began stripping away everything that was not essential. In combat, I removed the unnecessary movements that wasted energy. In training, I discarded techniques that did not serve me. In life, I cut away habits, distractions, and attachments that weakened my spirit. The more I eliminated, the clearer I became. The more I simplified, the sharper my strikes. The steadier my mind, the stronger my discipline. Think about water again. It does not flow in every direction at once. It chooses a path, and with persistence, it carves canyons through stone. Your life is the same. If you scatter your energy across 1,000 pursuits, you will remain shallow. But if you focus your energy like water, flowing consistently in one direction, you will cut through any obstacle. Simplicity also taught me humility. In a world where everyone tries to impress with complexity, it takes strength to embrace simplicity. People believe that making things complicated proves intelligence, but true mastery is being able to make the complex simple. When you have mastered something deeply, you no longer need to show off. You can express it with clarity and ease. That is why I often said, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Simplicity sharpens power. Repetition creates mastery. In life, this means discipline is not about doing everything. It is about doing the right things with consistency. It is not about filling your schedule with endless tasks. It is about dedicating yourself to the essentials that truly matter. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they spread themselves too thin. They chase distractions, they drown in noise, and they lose sight of what is important. But the disciplined man strips away everything unnecessary and pours himself fully into what matters most. That is why his life carries weight, while others remain scattered. Simplicity also brings freedom. The more unnecessary things you carry, the heavier your life becomes. The more distractions you entertain, the weaker your focus grows. But when you eliminate what does not serve you, you create space for strength, clarity, and growth. I learned this in training, where removing wasted movement freed my strikes. I learned this in philosophy, where removing needless beliefs freed my mind. And I learned this in life, where removing unhealthy attachments freed my spirit. The less you carry, the stronger and freer you become. But do not mistake simplicity for laziness. Simplicity is not about doing less work. It is about doing the right work. It is not about avoiding effort. It is about directing your effort where it matters most. Discipline is what allows you to simplify without becoming careless. Discipline ensures that your simplicity is sharp, not shallow. It ensures that you refine yourself into precision rather than scatter yourself into confusion. This lesson took me years to understand because it required me to let go of my ego. The ego wants to collect, to show off, to appear knowledgeable and skilled. It resists simplicity because simplicity looks plain on the surface. But I realized that ego-driven complexity is hollow, while discipline-driven simplicity is unshakable. A single move, mastered through endless repetition, is worth more than 1,000 half-learned tricks. A single focused purpose, lived with discipline, is worth more than a life scattered chasing everything and achieving nothing. So I tell you this, strip away the unnecessary. Simplify your movements, simplify your training, simplify your habits, simplify your life. Focus on what truly matters and repeat it with discipline until it becomes who you are. You do not need to be everywhere. You do not need to do everything. You do not need to chase every path. Choose the essential, commit to it fully, and let everything else fall away. That is where mastery is born. Understand this clearly. Greatness is not about addition, it is about subtraction. It is not about how much you know, but how deeply you embody what you know. It is not about how many paths you walk, but how fully you walk the one that matters. Simplicity is the key to ultimate mastery, because in simplicity lies focus, in focus lies discipline, and in discipline lies true freedom. Now you have heard the lessons that took me years of discipline, pain, and sacrifice to understand. Each one carved into me not through books or theories, but through sweat on the training floor, through broken bones that healed stronger, through nights of doubt and mornings of relentless repetition. These lessons are not just for fighters or martial artists. They are for anyone who wishes to master themselves, to rise above mediocrity, and to live a life of true strength. Remember what I have told you. The first battle is always in the mind. If you cannot master your thoughts, your emotions, and your impulses, then no skill in the world will save you when life tests you. A man who conquers himself fears nothing else. That is the root of all discipline. From there, consistency must become your daily companion. Do not chase greatness in bursts. Do not wait for motivation. Do not fall in love with inspiration alone. Build yourself in silence day after day through repetition so relentless that your habits sculpt your destiny. Flow like water. Adapt to the shape of life without losing your essence. Bend, adjust, and remain humble because the rigid break while the fluid endure. And when pain comes, and it will, embrace it not as punishment, but as your teacher. Pain strips away illusions. Pain reveals truth. Pain refines you into someone stronger, wiser, and unshakable. Do not curse it. Learn from it. Speak less. Do more. The world has no time for empty words. Let your actions prove your strength. Let your results speak for you. Discipline does not shout. It whispers in the quiet hours when no one is watching, and then it roars in the undeniable reality of your achievements. This is why I tell you, silence is stronger than noise. Understand also that discipline is not a cage, it is freedom. The undisciplined man is a slave to desire, but the disciplined man is his own master. He controls himself, and because of that, nothing controls him. Do not be deceived by comfort disguised as freedom. Real freedom is having the strength to do what is right, even when it is hard. And never forget the greatest truth of all. You are not what you occasionally do. You are what you repeatedly do. Every day, you are training yourself into someone. Every choice is practice. Every action is shaping the person you are becoming. If you repeat weakness, you will live weak. If you repeat discipline, you will live unbreakable. The future is not written by chance, it is written by habit. But beyond all of this, the deepest truth is this. The battle is not against the world. The enemy is not outside, it is inside you. The excuses, the laziness, the fear, the doubt, that is your true opponent. The fight you wake up to every morning is against yourself. Win that battle, and the world cannot defeat you. Lose that battle, and no amount of external victory will save you. And finally, learn the art of simplicity. Do not scatter your energy chasing everything. Strip away what is unnecessary. Focus on the essential. One move perfected is worth more than 10,000 half-learned. One disciplined purpose, lived fully, is worth more than a life wasted in distraction. True mastery is not found in adding, but in eliminating. These lessons are not easy. They demand sacrifice. They demand that you confront yourself. They demand that you give up comfort, excuses, and weakness. But if you embrace them, if you live them daily, you will discover a life of strength, clarity, and freedom that most people will never know. You will walk through life not as a prisoner of desire, but as a master of yourself. And that, above all else, is victory. So I leave you with this truth: work hard, win hard. The path of discipline is not the easy path, but it is the only path to greatness. Conquer your mind, control your actions, embrace the struggle, and eliminate the unnecessary. Become the master of yourself, and you will discover that no one, not man, not fear, not pain, not life itself, can ever conquer you again.